Stopped and searched lots of time.
Yes, I have been stopped and searched before.
Because I'd been stopped so many times that it actually became a routine.
I have been stopped and searched on a number of occasions.
Yep, I have been stopped and searched before.
Yeah, I've been stopped and searched, a couple of times.
I've been stopped and searched several times.
I've been stopped and searched on a number of occasions, yeah, lots and lots and lots of times.
I've been stopped and searched many a times.
I have been stopped and searched.
Yeah, I've been stopped and searched regularly.
Yeah, I've been stopped and searched plenty of times.
There's been a few times where I've been on my own.
I've been stopped many times.
I've been stopped in my life twice.
According to a recent poll, Bristol has been considered the best city to live in within the UK. This statement may not be true if you're from the BME community. Stop and Search is a police tool that's had its fair share of media coverage. It's a tool that can be used by the police on anyone if the police have reasonable suspicion. This has led to tension and mistrust from communities, and in the past has even led to riots.
Now we're making a film.
Have you got permission to do that?
Have we got permission to do what?
Take photos of police vehicles and police station.
Yeah.
Who are you from?
Mike Prior.
Mike Prior.
Yeah, superintendent.
Right, okay. Have you got anything on you that says you can do?
Oh, but I'm sure you can speak to him and he can tell you.
We've just finished interviewing him.
Have you? Is he here?
Yeah, just finished interviewing him, yeah. Are we being stopped right now?
Huh?
Are we being stopped?
Yeah, at the moment, just until I can just confirm.
Film it then. I am filming, bro. Yeah. But I mean, am I doing something illegal, or is this illegal what I'm doing now?
No, not at the moment.
My name is Michael Jenkins and I'm a filmmaker, born in Bristol. My first experience of being stopped and searched was when I was around 14 and it wasn't pleasant. From then to around 2011, being stopped and searched was quite a regular occurrence.
Talking about this for years
it's been going on for years.
This is not old information from the sus laws. You know, you're going back to the late 70s and 80s. So what are they going to do about it? We're fed up with this. This has been going on for too long. Young black men minding their own business, legally going about their lives, just being ordinary citizens, just trying to get on and get ahead, and they're being stopped and searched just because of their colour. What's going on?
Avon and Somerset Constabulary provides services for approximately 1.6 million people and is the 6th largest police force in England and Wales. It makes up the areas of South Gloucestershire, Bath and North East Somerset, Bristol and North, East and West Somerset. For the year 2013 to 14, there were 24,639 stop and searches across Avon and Somerset. Of these, 2,890 were BME. Given these latest statistics, I asked people in Bristol how they feel stop and search has impacted their lives.
It made me feel like, what am I living in? Like, how come I'm just being stopped and searched? Like, I'm not free. Like, this is supposed to be like a free country.
I had quite a dominant dad when I was growing up. He controlled pretty much everything. He would always say that the police were doing their duty because they weren't stopping my white friends. Well, that's eating up the inside of me. It's just been there. It's always there. Everywhere you go, you're always thinking that you can't just get on and do things. There weren't many ethnic minorities in the area, so I didn't have anyone else to ask and see if they were being stopped.
And several times during that time I was stopped and searched, face down into the ground, into the mud, and all that did back then was radicalise me against the police.
I've been in the police force now for 27 years and before I joined the police I didn't like the police. And I think I was just like a number of young black kids out on the streets today. And it wasn't just about my own experiences, the experiences from my family and my friends and all that kind of stuff. And the police were viewed as the enemy, and no ifs, no buts.
Everything I know and experienced makes me realise that, I wouldn't want to join the police force, and I wouldn't want my children to join the police either, really.
I don't think they really care. I don't think we have education or something. I think we don't really like school. Most of them just take you for like dumb black guys.
I was about 14. And we were all, that group were about my age. It was an under-18s disco. Next thing you know, as we're walking round to where the bus stop is, 2 police vans come up, where are you guys going? We're going to the bus stop. No, you ain't, They're just in our faces. Arrest us. Mate, we got a kick in the van that night. The biggest one of us, who was probably a year older than us, 16, 17, was pinned up in the back of the van, gun cuffed to the back grill like that and getting the hell kicked out of him as he was like that. I witnessed that. Never, that thought's still with me today. I'm 48 now.
Yeah, my name's Deli. Today I'm doing a ride along with the Avon and Somerset Police Force to look at the way in which they operate within the community and find out, the mentality, the attitudes and the procedures surrounding stop and search from both ends, both from the police force and the community.
In the St Paul's area, there historically has been individuals that openly deal drugs on the street. We've got various CCTV cameras in the street which we can use to pick out the individuals that are specifically involved in the drug dealing.
Is there a way that you get briefed to go into it, like things that you're looking out for, or what's the process in that sense?
Well, the legislation is quite specific around stop and search, right? How we exercise it and how we use it. There has to be specific intelligence or information about that person or someone described as that person. Being in possession of something.
Okay, so there has to be like a reasonable amount of suspicion for it. It can't just be completely like random in that sense.
It has to be suspicion. In the past, we've done sort of less focused operations where there's information about drug dealing on the street and a group are involved. And what we have found is that yes, some of them are involved, but some of them are stood with their friends. A lot of policemen go in and sort of start detaining people for drug searches. It can escalate situations, and other members of the community see what's going on and think, the police are being heavy-handed tactics, and it just escalates, and it has an impact on the neighbourhood and the policing team's ability to police the area, because there's a trust and confidence issue.
If we had a new recruit, I would say that they would definitely need to come onto the neighbourhood team, spend some time with us to see how we will deal with things and how we will treat people, and the people and the residents around here will know how the community police officers will deal with them.
The ride-along gave us a good insight into the job of the police. I wanted to talk to the person in charge of stop and search in Avon and Somerset and see exactly what is involved in a stop and search.
I'm Mike Prior, I'm a superintendent. I'm in charge of all the uniformed police officers and PCSOs in Bristol, but also I look after stop search for the constabulary.
The police use stop and search as a preventative measure to keep everyone safe. A lot of stop searches don't result in an arrest, about 1 in 10 do. The officers need to have reasonable grounds. They need to have a reason why they need to stop you. And not more often than not, that's to allay a fear. The officer needs to explain what they're doing. They need to explain to the individual why they're being stopped. They need to actually say what they're looking for, what prohibited article they're looking for, and the law they're being stopped under, for example, the Misuse of Drugs Act. And they also got to explain to the person being stopped, they get a right to a receipt, a record of why they were stopped. The officer also has to identify themselves to say who they are. You as an individual don't have to give your identity unless you're suspected of committing a crime. But during a normal stop search, you don't have to give your personal details. A member of the public might have gone up to them and say, they're a bit worried about that person over there, they think they're about to commit a crime, they've seen them with something which they think is illegal. And the officer then has a duty also to assess that information and see whether or not they need to approach that person to stop and search them to allay those fears. There's lots of perceptions about stop and search, and we want to make sure we're getting it right. And what I mean by that, we want to make sure we're getting it right for the community. We're protecting them. We're stopping the right people. We're stopping people who are about to commit crime where you live. It should always be fair and it should always be reasonable, and the officers should do it in a way which actually minimises any potential embarrassment or the length of time it takes to do. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we use the power, but we use it as effectively, as positively and as friendly as possible to make sure that those fears that people might have are quickly allayed.
How people within the BME community view the police is both historical and personal. I asked people their views and perceptions.
But the impression I've got of most of them is even when they're walking the streets and not searching you or whatever, they almost seem to have some, not ego, but front about them. Because they've got this authority, they think they're separate to all these other people.
Without the police, the country or the place would not be safe, but you still have bad apples.
I have heard police officers talking about stop and search in a really naive way. All I'm doing is doing my job, I'm just trying to sort crime out. I'm not the police officer that came on before, I'm not the one that did something to them before, I'm not the institution. Really not understanding the fact that when someone in uniform comes into an interaction with someone from a community that has been historically mistreated by that uniform, it's not two individuals coming together, it's two histories, it's two cultures.
Some black people that I know don't want to be police officers because they know that there's so much racism in there and they know that they won't be able to progress.
You wouldn't join an organisation if you don't trust it, and furthermore, if it's institutionally racist, why would you want to join it?
The top of the iceberg above the water doesn't mean it's the bottom that's clashing, it's all this stuff underneath. And I think some police have never understood that. They're just saying, well, I'm just trying to solve crime. If I pull you over, I will stop you, and then nothing's wrong. What are you worried about? I inconvenience you 5 hours. What they don't understand is what you're doing is affirming my powerlessness. You are enforcing the relative powerlessness of people that look like me, that could be my son, could be my cousin, or could just be people I care about.
Seeing a black man walking down the street, or a few black girls on the street corner, doesn't look odd to me. To some people, that might look odd. That might look strange, who are not familiar with that. I'm chair of the Black Police Association, Avon and Somerset, representing all black officers within the service, and the BPA particularly came about as a result of the murder of Stephen Lawrence. I'm working with your organisation to address the needs of not just the officers and staff, but also of the community. In the early days, when I first joined the service, there was a lot of surprise at seeing a black guy in the force. Sometimes you might get a snide comment or whatever it might be. But one of the things I'm very quick with my mouth. And I got very skilled at actually dishing it out, if that makes sense. And I used to dish out a lot of verbal comments to my colleagues. And then I realised it was my coping strategy. And when I understood that that's what it was, I was able to stop doing it, if that makes sense. You look around this station, and I think there's 3 or 4 black people working on the station out of 200. So if you've got a lot more officers of colour working there, it moves that away. And one is you're educating internally, there's more reassurance externally.
Why people are not applying, for me, is a big element of perception. So changing that perception and making what's going on in the police more transparent, I think will change people's view of the police.
SARI is an organisation that works within the community and does training with the police.
Our primary service is casework and advocacy for victims of racial harassment, racist attacks, and now for all other types of hate crime as well. We do training for the police, and we train them on understanding the needs of particular communities and trying to get them to look at barriers, trying to get them to look at the perceptions of communities and how can they police communities with sensitivity and respect. That's number one, really.
If you have an individual who decides to become a police officer, that individual before has a perception of black people by the media and just an entrenched perception. And because those individuals actually put on a police uniform, that does not take away that perception.
Basically, race across the whole country, locally, it is one of the highest forms of hate crime that we're still seeing. But we're training a whole range of agencies. We train housing providers, we train support workers, social workers, teachers, governors. We're doing training for a whole range of different types of agency. I
would say it is getting better, especially with SARI's training. But to say that there's no racism, institutional racism within the police force would be silly, really.
Having spoke to various people and gathered their thoughts on Stop and Search, I posed a question. Should Stop and Search be scrapped?
Stop and Search is needed. If they don't stop, how will they know? Maybe there would be a terrorist walking, or maybe there would be a guy walking with a gun.
For us, it's a preventative tool as well, because if we didn't have Stop and Search, those people who wanted to go out and commit crimes could wander around freely without fear that they're going to be interrupted before they commit an offence. And obviously, we want to stop people from committing crime.
It needs to be checked more. There needs to be better training to make sure that the way officers prepare themselves before they do that is appropriate, to make sure that they're constantly challenging themselves and never acting on prejudice. We need to properly look at is how officers stop and engage with and talk to the community.
Making sure that police officers know how to talk to particularly young black people so that we get that message out there, that it's not to do with what power you have as a police officer, but that everyone has to be treated with respect and with integrity and with an explanation, because that's what the law is. And if they do not comply with the law, if they do racial stereotyping, that is illegal and that they will be disciplined for that.
If someone broke in my house, I would want everyone stopped and searched, But you don't make law like that. That's not a good way of making law. You have to make it intelligently, not emotionally. most people get stopped and searched have not done anything wrong. So actually, what have you done in that point of interaction?
In my heart of hearts, as a police officer, I see the value of what stop and search actually brings to us. But I see the damage what it's doing to our communities and what the damage what it's actually doing to the service in relation to trust and confidence. And I believe that stop and search perhaps might have this stigma linked to it. So whether or not we can actually move stop and search from here to here, I'm not too sure we can. So my instincts tell me we should check it out.
Stop and search is a very sensitive subject and has influenced my own perceptions of the police as I was growing up. Essentially, it's about human interaction, perceptions on both sides, and racial stereotyping. It's a very long journey, but I'm optimistic about the relationship between citizens and their police force.
I think they should set an example. So if they ever come across a scenario where someone has stereotypical views, I think they should really discipline that person so that other officers can see that, you know what, they take this very seriously.
Training, awareness, cultural training, interaction within the community, and interaction with SARI.
The police should be made from a lot of different backgrounds, not just white people.
I mean, the police, they have the right to stop and search, but they have to have reasonable grounds, as always, to stop and search you. They will often ask you questions, where you're coming from, where you're going, why you're in a particular area. Which they're entitled to ask, but as a citizen, you don't have to answer them.
I think we as the black community have a responsibility to ourselves as well, and I think we have to be more instrumental in actually shaping how those laws are enacted against us. We look at the numbers of black officers and black police staff working within the organisation, and part of this is about education, and we need more officers, more police staff within the policing environment who can actually educate not only the officers and staff who are within the organisation, but also our young people out there in our communities, so that people actually understanding why are you being stop searched. And yeah, they can ask the officer, why are you stopping me? But truly understanding the rationale behind why an officer is understanding, and knowledge is power.
I want to open up stop and search so the communities can see what we're doing. And I can't have that conversation with everyone or every community. And this film is really important. So hopefully lots of people see it. And lots of people see that the police, Avon and Somerset, are really genuine about making sure that we do stop and search in a way that doesn't upset people, and a way which looks after and keeps the community safe.